Good morning. It is Monday, which means it's time to get into movie news, movie reviews, and a little bit more. Before we do that, I do want to say thanks for joining me again for episode 5. And we're going to go ahead and jump right into things. We had a lot of stuff to cover in the news this week. The news does actually stretch on a little bit longer than normal. So definitely, if you have any thoughts about anything we cover, leave them in the comments. And then we'll get to some movie reviews right after that. And then as always, we'll get into the box office numbers, what's coming out in theaters, and also what's coming out in home video. So stay tuned for all of that. Thanks for joining. If you haven't clicked subscribe, now would be a great time to do that. And if you like what you hear, be sure to give me a thumbs up. I'd really appreciate it. And have a great rest of your morning. I hope you enjoy episode 5 of Brunansky's vlog. In the news, we have Ant-Man and the Wasp has begun principal photography, which means the movie has officially begun filming. The synopsis was also revealed and states, in the aftermath of Captain America Civil War, Scott Lang balances being both a superhero and a father. Hope Van Dyne and Dr. Hank Pym present an urgent new mission that finds the Ant-Man fighting alongside the Wasp to uncover secrets from their past. This film is scheduled for release July of 2018, which is after Avengers Infinity War in May and Black Panther in February. Now for me, I was pretty excited when I saw the news drop on Twitter that we're finally in production for this film. The two things that surprised me the most, A, we're getting 3 movies back to back to back in 2018 from Marvel. That's incredible. I mean, we've typically had to wait like a 6-month period, but they're going to go February, May, then July. That's craziness. And then the next one, I believe, is Captain America in 2019 in March. So then we've got some time to breathe there. But I was blown away that we're getting 3 movies, 2 months, just boom, boom, boom. Like, that's craziness. Also, I'm curious as to about if Avengers Infinity War ends and then we jump back in time to Ant-Man, because Ant-Man's going to be right after Captain America Civil War. Like, are we taking a complete breather from the saga? Like, is it going to be something that is happening because of the events in Infinity War, like where we have to go back to that time? Or is it just something where Infinity War ends and now we're going to go back and we're going to fill in some of the plot points as far as the overall story is concerned for the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe? I really don't know. I was just blown away that, not that they were starting production, I was really happy about that, but that we're getting 3 movies, boom, 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 and then blah, we're jumping back in time, and here we are post Civil War. Now I'm curious to see kind of what happens with the Ant-Man story, because at the end of Ant-Man, which I enjoyed, we saw that the Wasp has a new suit, which I thought was pretty cool. So I'm looking forward to seeing that and curious to see how they work those 2 people together with the shrinking and the growing and normal size. So that could be fun. Also, Michelle Pfeiffer coming back. I'm curious to see how she's going to play into things as Dr. Pym's wife, because we were told almost at the very beginning of Ant-Man that she went missing. So how does she get back? What's going on there? I'm pretty excited to see it. So we'll just have to keep our eyes open as far as that story is concerned, and we get to look forward to additional little bits of news and photos and videos as we get closer to that release. Fox Searchlight released a new trailer for Goodbye Christopher Robin. This film is scheduled for release in October of this year and is about Arthur A. Milne and the creation of Winnie the Pooh stories inspired by his son C.R. Milne. It stars Margot Robbie, Domhnall Gleeson, and is directed by Simon Curtis, who last directed Woman in Gold back in 2015. I watched this trailer for the first time right before recording this segment, and I gotta say, I am excited about this movie. I didn't know anything about this movie. I didn't realize that there was a trailer before it. I hadn't really heard anything about it. So to know that it's been slipping past my radar this entire time with a release date coming up this year, big surprise for me today while I was enjoying my morning coffee. So can't wait to see this. When I was watching the trailer, which I put in the show notes below so you can check that link out, I definitely recommend it. One of my favorite films of all time stars Johnny Depp, and it's Finding Neverland. And it's the story about how the story of Peter Pan came to be and what the author went through to create that story, the characters, the worlds, everything else. And I think it might be Johnny Depp's best performance to this day. I love Finding Neverland. It's on my list of movies I watch at least once a year. It's just such a good story with great characters and real emotional depth that just pulls you in such a great way that you're just staring at the screen going, what's going to happen next? What's going to happen next? And I definitely recommend you check out Finding Neverland if you haven't. It's been out for a while, so you should be able to find it on any VOD service or, any Redbox, DVD, Blu-ray. You should be able to pick it up pretty affordable, pretty cheap. Go to a used bookstore, support local. You can probably get it used there for a couple bucks. Definitely recommend it. Finding Neverland, starring Johnny Depp. Check it out. But this movie, Goodbye Christopher Robin, the feel of it was very similar to what I got from Finding Neverland. And so because of that, because it harkens back and reminds me of those feelings that I get when I watch Finding Neverland, I can't wait. I'm super excited, and I hope you guys will enjoy the trailer. All right, Paramount announced that John Cena will be joining the cast of the new Transformer Bumblebee movie, along with Haley Steinfeld, whose last film was Edge of 17 back in 2016. Now, I'm a big fan of Haley Steinfeld. She blew me away in Edge of 17. I thought that was a great film, one of my favorite films of last year, so definitely check that out. My review is on my WordPress, Brunansky's blog. If you want to read that, you can, but going right now, before you even jump back to that page, I definitely recommend you check out Edge of 17. And then also her performance in True Grit was really, really good too. So she's had 2 movies where I just sat back and went, this is a very talented actor. And I'm looking forward to seeing what she can do in pretty much anything. But I gotta say, I don't care about this Transformers franchise at all. Like, they've done such a piss poor job of everything except from the first one that it's just, you tell me news is coming out and I'm like, what do I care? Here's the reason I care about this story in particular. Before you get super confused and you're like, well, if you don't care about Transformers, why are we talking about it today? Here's why. 2 reasons. A, Haley Steinfeld. So Steinfeld, not Seinfeld, different last names. But she's super talented, so I'm curious to see what happens. Also, I don't really know that Michael Bay is going to be too hands-on. I heard a rumor that he might be producing this in some capacity, so hopefully that's not true and we can debunk that very soon. And it's just a fresh team with fresh eyes, fresh ideas, everything else. Hopefully, fingers crossed. Second reason is I don't really follow wrestling at all, ever. I never have. It's not really my thing. I don't get it. I know a lot of people do, and so because a lot of people do, I know a lot of people who are really big into wrestling. So there are certain jokes that I'm familiar with that stem from wrestling, one of which is John Cena's "You Can't See Me" thing that he does. So I'm kind of hoping that in the spirit of that joke, of his little "You Can't See Me," we don't actually ever see him in the movie. Maybe he's just a voice for one of the robots in the movie, and I think that would be hilarious as just a great nod to that whole "You Can't See Me" thing. Now, if it doesn't, if he is actually a character, like a real physical character in the movie, okay, that's cool too, I guess. He's had at least 1 or 2 good roles already, so I mean, maybe, but it's still the Transformers franchise, so I'm still just like, but we'll see what happens. If you guys are excited about it, if you guys are looking forward to it, throw it in the comments below. Again, let me know why I should care, and just kind of start that conversation. And maybe again, you can warm up this very cold heart towards the franchise of Transformers. Bloomberg reported that ticket sales are down 2% this year. Additionally, AMC Entertainment Holdings Incorporated is projecting a 1.5% decline for the full year. Now, Bloomberg goes on to discuss how cinema operators have been able to increase sales by raising ticket prices, but competition like Netflix, etc., have increased consumer options for immediate entertainment. AMC stated they're looking to pursue strategic pricing, possibly charging more for hot tickets and offering discounts to fill seats, as well as cutting back on investing in theater improvements, i.e., reclining comfy seats, etc. For more on this article, see the link in the show notes below. Okay. How do we have this conversation without me losing my mind? I'm going to try and stay calm, because it feels like what they're saying is that they're going to take ticket prices that are already high and borderline unaffordable for most people if they want to go out on a date or take their family or something like that, And then they're going to price gouge us even more on hot tickets. So what's a hot ticket? They don't really explain it, but I would imagine a hot ticket is something like a big blockbuster that everyone's looking forward to. So the new Avengers movie might be a hot ticket. So you would have to spend more on a ticket to go see Avengers than you would on, say, something that Tom and Pete go to the park, like just some random name I just created just for the sake of this whole series here. So you go to the movies, you're like, yeah, I'm going to go see it. Now I did look up a couple things here. I wrote them down in my trusty notebook as far as ticket prices go. Now this is just matinee ticket prices. And I went to NATO, and not the useless world government agency NATO, not that one, but NATO, the National Association of Theater Owners. I went to their website, and the average ticket price in the United States for last year was $865. Now that's the average across all 50 states. And for the second quarter of this year, it bumped up to $895. So not a dramatic change, but a change nonetheless for the worse. Now, from there, I decided, well, I wonder what ticket prices would be in high dollar areas, and then, like, let's say whatever the middle is. So I went to just Google, and I just looked up, housing prices to try and find like a middle, and MSNBC had a pretty good list of them, and I just picked number 25, and number 25 actually was Coconut Grove, Florida, which is just south of, Florida was the state that came in at 25th most affordable, but Coconut Grove is just south of Miami. So that number one, Hollywood, California, if you go to the ArcLight at a matinee movie, so before noon, their tickets were $15.75. It's matinee. If you went to AMC Empire 25 near Times Square in New York, before noon, matinee was $8.19. And then Coconut Grove at Luxury Cinemas, Cinepolis, Coconut Grove. Cinepolis is the name of the theater. It's a luxury theater. So before noon there was $10.25. So, and then here, where I'm at, I can go see a movie before noon for like $5.25. So that's some pretty big gaps, especially if you're in the Hollywood area and you want to go to a nice theater like ArcLight. $15 before noon. That's basically 3 movies that I just saw here in town that you guys only got to see one of for the same price. So when you look at it that way and you say, okay, well, if I'm going to go on a date, I'm going to take, my female, my male, whatever your preference is, I'm going to take them to see the movie, and I'm going to pay. I'm going to be a gentleman, or I'm going to be a respectable independent woman, whatever the case may be, and I'm going to make the cost out of my pocket. So 2 tickets, now we're up to $30 if you're in Hollywood, right? Popcorn and soda, probably, and if you're at the ArcLight, you can get drinks there, so maybe you get like brunch cocktails. So now we're getting closer to $50-$60, and that's all before noon for one movie, which may or may not be that great. So instead of trying to figure out how to adjust ticket sales to make them work, I kind of feel like they should just get better movies in theaters with better stories that are kind of more fleshed out. And that way they don't have to put the burden on the theater owners, and the theater owners don't have to push the burden on us, saying, well, why aren't our movies doing so good? Well, the ticket sales aren't good. Why aren't the ticket sales aren't good? Because you guys aren't going to see the movies. Well, we aren't going to see your movies because your movies aren't good. Franchises like Transformers, consecutively bad across the board. Other movies that could have gone straight to Netflix and I think would have done much better would be something like Guy Ritchie's last film, the King Arthur movie. I enjoyed it in the theater, but if you would have put that straight to Netflix, I think it would have done much better, and I think it would have had better buzz on Netflix as opposed to what it got in theaters. So just reshaping the idea of how you're going to tell your stories and in what mediums you're going to tell your stories might actually help anybody who's listening. So instead of price gouging us because everybody wants to see Avengers, so you're going to charge us $20 a ticket, or if you're at Hollywood, maybe $30 a ticket, instead of doing something insane like that, why don't you just figure out how to tell the stories and get people into the theaters? In the article, it does mention price seating discounts. So I'm imagining it's something like Hotwire or Hotel Tonight, to where you go to the theater right before the show, they have seats available and you can get one dirt cheap. That's a great idea. Get people into the theater, because when people get into your theater, they talk about your movie. And whether it's good news or bad news, it's still news and people are still talking about your film. So try and think of ways to make the overall experience more affordable for the common American, because not everybody, as you can see with that recent article of the 1.5% decline, is getting out to the theaters to see your movies, because we're realizing that not all of these movies are worth all of this money that you're charging us. So that's my soapbox rant. I'll get off it now. Let's go ahead and move on to the next segment, or the next topic. Disney is in talks with Chiwetel Ejiofor to play Scar, or voice Scar, in the live-action remake of Lion King. Additionally, live-action Aladdin casting is beginning to take shape in a way that paints a possible portrait of what we can expect from this Guy Ritchie Disney film, with Mena Massoud as Aladdin, Naomi Scott as Jasmine, Marwan Kenzari as Jafar, and Will Smith as the genie. Now, between these two stories, they're both Disney, they're both live action. The one I really care about is Aladdin. I've never really been excited about Lion King being remade, even though Jon Favreau's doing it, and I love Jon Favreau movies, and whether he's directing them or whether he's in them, I enjoy the stories he tells and the stories he chooses to participate in that are being told by someone else. So I was like, oh, cool, Jon Favreau's doing another movie. Wait, why is he doing Lion King? He just did The Jungle Book. It's the same concept, animals talking. So for me, I'm like, well, I'm going to go see it. It's Lion King, it's Jon Favreau, but I'm not really excited because you already blew my socks off with Jungle Book, and that movie was incredible, and the CGI was gorgeous in that movie, considering almost everything was green screen, shot in LA or Hollywood area, not in the jungles like the movie looks like, but actually in a soundstage in California. That's craziness. It looked gorgeous. So that's awesome, but we're doing it again? If it's just to refine the craft and show new stuff, cool, I get it, but I'm more excited about Aladdin than I am Lion King. So good job to everybody working on Aladdin. I'm excited to see what Guy Ritchie can bring to this live action. I'm a fan of Guy Ritchie films. I know for some people he's hit or miss, but I still go out and support Guy Ritchie because I like the manner in which he tells his stories. Warner DC has hit another stumbling block as they lost another possible director for Suicide Squad 2, continuing the stories in the DC Extended Universe. Now, in the long list of directors they can't land are Jamie Collett-Serra has moved over to work on Disney's The Jungle Cruise movie starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. And so far, they've also been in talks or have considered with Mel Gibson, Ruben Fleischer, and Jonathan Levine. Now, while studios can search through as many directors as they want to find the best vision for their film, comments from Suicide director David Ayers at San Diego Comic-Con suggest that the involvement of Warner DC in these films might be the issue more than the directors themselves. While promoting his new film, he actually said some pretty explicit things, which you can see here on the screen. This is primarily a family show. My nieces and nephews, I have 4 of them. They're all under the age of 12. So I try and make sure that they can watch what Uncle Jeremy does. And then if you guys are at home watching this with kids, you don't need to worry about, little ears running around hearing things they shouldn't hear. So we try and keep it family friendly. So what he said is on the screen here. You can read it there. But as you can see, that does suggest that it might be more the heads at Warner DC causing the interruptions more than the directors themselves having issues getting these characters brought to life. So if you have a thought about it, if you think it actually is the directors more than Warner DC, throw it in the comments below. But we're going to go ahead and move on to the next topic. Marvel released a special music video for the Blu-ray release of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Now, the music video stars the hero of the beach, night riding his way through German pop music charts, Mr. David Hasselhoff. So please do yourself a favor and watch this insanely over-the-top, dripping with 1970s goodness music video. It's literally everything I didn't know I wanted from a music video that was at the very end. The music video for a song that was at the very end of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. I was laughing so hard watching this thing. I had to mention it at least during the news segment, because this was news to me. I saw it this morning. I was like, wait, what is this? And then I watched it and my jaw dropped. I was laughing hysterically. It's so just above and beyond anything I thought that they could do. It's fantastic how serious everybody is in this, while it just looks like they just stole it right out of like a horrible B movie in the music video from the 1970s. It's great. Everybody takes it seriously. It's super cheese. Check it out. I put the link for it in the show notes below. Definitely worth your time. All right. Now we're going to do some honorable mentions. Now these are just news stories that broke that I saw and I was like, okay. And I didn't really have a negative or positive feeling one way or the other, but they are noteworthy. So I wanted to just mention them here real quick. So we're just going to rapid fire, boom, 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 boom. And then we'll get on to the next segment of movie reviews for you guys. So honorable mentions this week. Miami Vice might get a reboot at NBC with Vin Diesel to produce. Bryan Cranston and Kevin Hart's new comedy/drama will be titled The Upside and is scheduled for release March of 2018. Pacific Rim Uprising, aka Pacific Rim 2, moved its release date back to March of 2018, 1 week prior to Ready Player One. Haley Atwell might co-star with Ewan McGregor in Disney's version of Christopher Robin the movie. And then Star Wars Episode 9 is bringing in Jack Thorne to rewrite Colin Trevorrow's script. Now, how much of a rewrite has not been stated. So that's it for the news this week, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out. Now, if we missed a topic and you were like, how did you miss it? Again, there's a lot of news all week long. So the best thing to do is join the conversation or start the conversation in the comments below, because while I can't get to everything in one show, we probably can cover everything in the comments section. So go ahead and start that conversation. And if you see something that someone put down and you're like, yes, or you're like, nah, or no, jump into that thread and start that conversation there too. We can keep this going beyond just the weekly show. And then also, if you follow me on Twitter at Brunansky's Vlog, I also will be posting periodically throughout the week. I post news stories there too, so you can always see what else is going on there as well. Okay, let's go ahead now and move into the movie review segment. And we'll go ahead and get you guys some information on films that are currently in theaters that you may or may not want to spend your hard-earned dollars on. Let's check it out. So I just got back from seeing Stephen King's The Dark Tower. So let's go ahead and jump into that right now. Now the movie is based off of a series of books, quite lengthy books that I did not read. In fact, I've not read any Stephen King books all the way through. I'm in the middle of one right now. So once that's finished, I'll be able to speak a little bit more to what he does as a writer and story building and everything else. But I went into this movie just expecting like this weird science fiction action film. And that is not entirely what I got. So the film itself is like a horror meets science fiction meets Western, dystopian, modern. There's a lot of different elements in play for this film. So you're going to want to just kind of like take it all in and just enjoy what they've built out so far in this first movie. Now, I will say I didn't quite get the story, but then again, I didn't read the books. So I'm not quite sure all of the plot points that aren't filled out, what I missed because I haven't read it. So the story starts off and it's pretty standard. It's, you know, bad guy destroys things, good guy comes around, and now we've got to get like folks together to save the world, right? Pretty standard stuff as far as a hero action tale is concerned. So no complaints there. However, there's a weird demon in the house at one point, and it's made of wood, but they don't really explain like what it is there for, but then later it's like to protect, but then you don't quite understand what it's protecting from because there are folks who are supposed to be monitoring and controlling everything. So that was like one thing. And then there was another scene where they have like these weird rat mice people, but they don't really explain where they came from, like what world, like why they decided to help the man in black, who basically is like a satanic sorcerer of sorts. So there's a lot of like weird things. The movie starts off with like you see kids like being put into chairs, and then like electricity's like sucking energy out of their brains, and you're like, what is going on? And then you see like faces falling off of people, and you're like, what is this movie? And then all of a sudden like it snaps to, and you see like this kid is just having these dreams or premonitions, if you will, of this world that exists that he doesn't know about yet. So you find out that like kids eventually you find out that kids have psychic abilities, and they need those psychic abilities to channel their energy into a machine that can destroy a dark tower, and the dark tower controls all of existence. But according to the story, the man in black has already gone through and destroyed worlds without having destroyed the dark tower. So there's like little plot points and beats where I was just like, I don't get it. What is happening? The movie also seems to revolve around Idris Elba's character, but I'm not quite sure why. Because it's, in my opinion, it should have been the kid who was kind of like driving the story. We see the kid go through these tremendously stressful situations because everyone thinks he's crazy because he doesn't realize he's a psychic. The kid is in a broken home. The stepdad doesn't want him. Eventually he comes home to find the stepdad's dead and his mom has literally been burned into the ground. These are some very intense, traumatic moments in this movie for a kid who's maybe 13-ish, 14-ish. So you have all of this pressure on this kid, but then it's like he's only there to serve the narrative that drives Idris Elba's character to fight the Man in Black. So why are we investing so much time in like caring about this kid when we should be caring about the story of Idris Elba if he's the one who's going to be stopping the Man in Black and understanding why they have a feud to begin with? What is the role of the gunslinger and why is he the only one left? I get that there's been wars, but give me more. Show me why the Man in Black is so terrifying as opposed to just a version of the Lincoln Town Car commercials that Matthew McConaughey plays, but kind of more sociopathic. Like, there was a lot of weird stuff in this movie that just didn't hit home, but if you're gonna see it, go ahead and check it out on like a Redbox or a video on demand service when it's available for streaming. I walked out of the movie and I was like, I don't quite understand exactly what I just saw, but some of it was fun. There's a lot of good like action sequences throughout. We don't really understand why the mantra for the gunslinger is what it is. We just know that he has one and it helps him focus, almost like meditation. But we don't understand the reasons behind the sayings in the mantra. Also, the ending scene, that action scene is bad. I mean, this is bad CGI everything. Matthew McConaughey is doing like this weird, like he almost looks like a mime without makeup. And it's just like, if he was on New York street corners like performing, I don't think very many people would be dropping this guy dollars in his bucket. So I just gotta say, like the ending, that last scene was, I was just like, nope. And then all of a sudden the kid comes to, like, and it was just, there's a lot of weird stuff in this film that just didn't hit home. So I can't give this film any high fives. I'm pulling them all back from you guys. Sorry. I walked out of the theater and my first thought was, well, at least they tried. Good morning. It is 5 a.m. PST, and we are getting ready to jump into the final segment of this show. So my coffee's poured. It's right here. It's hot. It's black. It's delicious. But before I jump into that coffee mug, we're going to go ahead and get you guys the box office numbers for this weekend so we can see what we all were watching over the weekend. So coming in at number 5, we have Kidnap, the new Halle Berry movie, which came in at $10,210,000. That is not good. That is not good at all. This feels more, I didn't see it, but with those type of numbers, maybe this should have been like a direct to DVD or direct to Netflix movie. I can't say. If you saw it and you liked it, leave a comment below and let us know what you thought about the film. Coming in at number 4 is Girls Trip. Now, this is the 3rd week in a row in the top 5. So congratulations, Girls Trip, and everybody associated with Girls Trip. And coming in at number 4, it made $11,418,700. Now, this movie has made approximately $85 million, and its budget was about $19 million. So it made its money back, it made some more money, and then it made a profit. So great job to everybody involved with Girls Trip. Great job to everybody like you, maybe you, if you went out and saw it and supported it. Based off of these numbers, I would not be surprised if we saw a sequel coming from Girls Trip. So, be on the lookout for Girls Trip 2. And if it happens, I'm not saying it will, but with those type of numbers and that type of return, I lean more towards the side of we're probably going to get a sequel. Coming in at number 3, the Emoji Movie. I don't know how this movie stayed in the top 5 2 weeks in a row. Emoji Movie made $12,350,000. There's approximately a 49% drop from week 1 to week 2. Who's seen this movie and why? What? Don't take your kids to see this ove. I haven't seen it, but the reviews on it are terrible, literally atrocious. Why are you putting your children through this movie? And more importantly, why are you putting yourself through this movie? You've got to take your kids to this thing and sit there for an hour and a half. Now, I'm not saying you should, but, you know, again, my recommendation last week was hire a babysitter and have the babysitter take the kids. So if you listened to me last week, you know, maybe you got out of a bad movie, but you still supported this piece of junk film. So, I shouldn't say that. I haven't seen it yet. But the reviews are terrible. Moving on past the Emoji Movie, which, anyway. Number 2, Dunkirk. Dunkirk is coming in with $17,600,000. So, again, job well done. Dunkirk is still my favorite film of the year. I have my review has posted both on this site in a previous episode, or you can just go to the playlist section on this page. And then in the playlist section, I actually have all of the movie reviews broken down separately. So you don't have to go back and watch the entire episode. You can just go back and watch that particular segment in the playlist section. It's there for you. So you can check that out. Or if you prefer to read over write, you can go to Brunansky's blog and you can go ahead and check it out there. Coming in at number 1 is The Dark Tower at approximately $19,500,000. This is bad news for The Dark Tower. Now, my review, you just saw my review. So, you know, I don't recommend people see this film. I am surprised the numbers are that low, though, because of the following that Stephen King has. His fans are quite devoted to his works. But, like in my review, this is not a good movie, and there's a lot of plot holes that are just all over the place. And if you read the books, the movie might make more sense. But then again, if you read the books, you might hate the movie. I don't know, but that 19 that's bad. That's bad. That stinks pretty hard. But the honorable mention I want to throw out of all of the things that surprised me on the top 5 this week, outside of Emoji Movie being in the top 5 again, was the fact that Atomic Blonde was not in the top 5. It actually dropped from number 4 to number 7. And that had a 55% drop from week 1 to week 2 in its earnings, which I was a little surprised by because I really enjoyed the movie. Now, again, I know it has been getting some bad press, so I have to keep that in mind when I look at these numbers. But I had a lot of fun with the movie, and I'm just surprised that more people didn't get out to see it this weekend or this past week to really just kind of enjoy the fun of the movie and the style of the movie, as opposed to taking it as like this serious spy action thing. Like, it's not James Bond, it's not John Wick. This is like, it's kind of like John Wick, but this is not. This is its own separate, unique, wonderful, fun, stylistic film. And if you go in with that mindset of just a fun, visually great looking film, costumes, set design, again, like I mentioned in my review from last week, again, you can go to the playlist and watch the review there, or you can go back to last week and watch the whole episode. But it's just everything about it is stylized, and it's just done really well. So I am surprised that Atomic Blonde dropped out of the top 5 and Emoji Movie stayed. I'm going to say a prayer for you people that are going to see the Emoji Movie, because anyway, go see Atomic Blonde. It's still in the theaters. All right, moving on. Coming out in theaters this weekend, we have The Glass Castle, Annabelle Creation, Nut Job 2, Nutty by Nature, and Ingrid Goes West. Now, up front, we're only 5 episodes in. I'm not a horror movie guy, so if you see a movie like Annabelle Creation or anything like that come out, rest assured, 99% of the time, this guy right here will not be seeing those movies to review them. You're not going to see me in that theater, because if I am in that theater, I won't be in that theater very long. I will be out, and I will probably be near the bar. So forget about most again, 99% of the time, you will not be seeing me anywhere near a horror movie. So, game over. Cashing in my chips. I've got no more cards. I'm out of this game. But I will say, I am still wanting to see Detroit, and Ingrid Goes West has kind of piqued my interest a little bit. So I'm going to try and make it out to see both Detroit and Ingrid Goes West, because I did not get out to the theaters to see Detroit this past weekend, and I wanted to. I just got too busy with stuff for this website. So hopefully I can get out and I can see both Detroit and Ingrid Goes West. I doubt I will be seeing Nut Job 2, Nutty by Nature. Nope. But the marketing has been really good for that film, because at a couple times I have looked at the commercial and been that could be kind of funny, but I doubt I will be seeing that. So hopefully I can put it on the books for this week for Ingrid Goes West in Detroit, and then I can get those reviews up for you lovely people. All right, coming out on DVD and Blu-ray this week, we have The Dinner, we have Diary of a Wimpy Kid, The Long Haul, King Arthur, Legend of the Sword, and Snatched. Now, I saw King Arthur, Legend of the Sword probably a week or two left in the theaters before it got cut, and they moved new movies in and pushed that one out so they could get it to DVD for us this week. I really enjoyed it. It is a Guy Ritchie film. It's a very different take on King Arthur. Definitely check out my review for that on WordPress, because there's a lot of crazy stuff in this movie that I enjoyed. I was like, what monsters? What is going on? Like, it was craziness. I had a lot of fun with it. This is by no means a good movie. This is just like a fun fantasy adventure meets action flick. And for that medieval kind of time with Guy Ritchie's writing style, I really enjoyed the banter and the dialogue that just kind of moved this whole story along. And then you just had these crazy, weird, sometimes epic action sequences, just CGI out the yin-yang, like non-stop CGI. And then all of a sudden it'd be like two people fighting with a sword, and then boom, CGI fest again. It was crazy. I had a fun time with it. Again, not really a great movie, but if you can check it out on Redbox for $1, or you can rent it online or stream it online or whatever you want to do for like $1 or $2, definitely worth a Sunday afternoon on the couch. So check that one out. I didn't see Diary of a Wimpy Kid, I didn't see The Dinner, and I did not see Snatched. So if you saw any of those, you know what to do. Comment section right below. All right, well, that pretty much wraps it up for us this week. I just want to go ahead and say thank you to everybody who has already clicked subscribe. If you haven't, now would be a great time to go ahead and click that button. Also, if you enjoyed any part of this week's segment, go ahead and give me that thumbs up. I'd appreciate it. And then if you have any particular thoughts about any of the topics, you just want to share your thoughts, or you have questions about anything, throw it in the comments below and get that conversation started. Now, once this episode ends, we still have all next week that we can keep things moving in the comment section below with your participation. So jump in there, throw in your thoughts. If you see something that someone else posted that you have a thought on, go ahead and add on to that thread, and let's just get that conversation started and keep the ball rolling until next Monday. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Be sure to follow us on Twitter. Also, be sure to follow us on Instagram, because we're going to be building out our Instagram here very soon. So I want to make sure you guys don't miss anything there. And then on Twitter, as I mentioned earlier, I do post weekly news updates on Twitter, so be sure to find us there. Again, thanks for clicking subscribe. Thanks for giving me the thumbs up. And as always, I will see you next Monday.